Hi, I'm Bridger Fates with Master Stockman Consulting, and welcome to our video series on applying research to farms and ranches. You know, there's a lot of good research out there. Sometimes we're not quite sure whether it's going to make any sense on our operation or not, though, especially from an economics perspective. So we're going to help you with that during this set of videos. In this video, Hudson Hill is going to talk to us a little bit about metabar coding, DNA metabar coding. So DNA metabar coding starts off first with good sampling. So let's cut to Hudson and the sampling procedures for DNA metabar coding.
So we've been in search of cow pies here today. We're doing this project with the DNA metabar coding. It's a Western Sare project. We're out here with Dustin Mills, our collaborator, our rancher collaborator today. It's a really good year to be here. It's really a drought year. We're curious to compare this year to other years on what the animals are out here eating. But the important part is that we're going to get our sample correct. We've sampled cow pies from around a big pasture here. We're going to homogenize that mixture before we send it in, but we're going to take another sample here, making sure we're getting fresh manure from the same day. And you know, there's nothing too technical about the way to sample it. We're getting as fresh as manure as we can and just getting some in the bag. The cattle are here, they're doing their job. They're eating the grass and making some cow pies, so we'll sample a few more. We'll make this homogeneous mixture, we'll get it in the freezer, and then we'll get it sent into the lab.
All right, so we're here talking about these projects, and again, we got a lot of projects to choose from Western Sare. The Western Sare database is a great resource to look at potential research projects for your operation and things that might work for you. But Hudson, why in the heck did you choose metabar coding DNA for cattle?
Well, we all know that I like new shiny things, and I really thought this research was new and shiny. It's really new, along with the fact that we did some of this in my county. I know the cows, I know where it was done, and it was really interesting to me. The concept to me is really interesting. In the past, if we wanted to know what a cow ate, we basically had to go and watch her eat. And this is really a new way, and I think it's really cutting edge. And I really believe that as time moves on, the DNA testing will get better, faster, and all of that, like all technology does. And we'll actually have organizations. We'll have feed salesmen. We'll have BLM people. We'll have Forest Service people who start utilizing this technology in a way to help us make decisions and do things. So I think it was great to get this information out there, start talking about it with producers, but I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool to be able to go out and sample a whole herd and actually know the difference between what cattle are eating at this time of year, what cattle are eating at this time of year, and in what percentages.
Yeah, and I give you a little bit of a hard time with DNA metabar coding, and it sounds complicated, but really when you get down to this project, it's not that complicated. You collect some manure, you send it into the lab, and they're able to use new DNA technology to provide you with a fairly reliable representation of what those cattle are eating in terms of species, types of plants. I think it's one of those projects that it's probably early to even think about how to implement that on your operation now. I think we need to spend some more time figuring out how to implement that technology better, but I think it really has a lot of opportunities for us in the future.
I think that's the whole point of why I wanted to do the project. It's our job as producers. It's producers' jobs to look for ways to utilize this technology. If you have questions to answer, things that you need to have answered, whether it's mineral or toxic plants, or what you're trying to improve with your range or pasture, you can think of ways to use this technology to help you answer those questions.
Yeah, there's quite a few possibilities between grazing management. Even if you're looking at doing some new seeding on your place, what would be some species you might select? What would be some you might not necessarily pick because of some of the results you might get from this new testing?
Yeah,
Yeah, and you've talked a little bit too about toxic plants. Maybe potentially that comes up in some of this testing as well that you might find, and give you some ideas of if animals are eating some of those plants or other issues like that. So I think it's great.
And I could see places in my part of the state where producers might utilize this every year to know just which year it is when they're hitting larkspur. When because that doesn't happen every year. Um, so yeah, it's really interesting technology. I look forward to see how it's utilized in the future. So we've been out in the field, we've collected our samples, we've followed the cows around, and we have our samples, and here we are. We're gonna visit a little about what that means and what we're gonna do with it now. We're talking about the SARE project GW 17059. This is really an interesting project to me, because it really helps us understand and explain basically what are our livestock and what they're eating. In the past, we've had the opportunity to try to figure out what cows are eating and how that's affecting them. We've had people spend time in the field watching the animals, watching what they eat. Of course, there's lots of challenges to staying out 24/7 with animals and seeing what they eat. Or we've had the ability to use cannulated animals. In college, I was able to be around some cannulated animals. It was really interesting, being able to open up the side of an animal through a cannula and looking into the rumen and seeing what was there. Or now this new technology that we're looking at and we're showing you today is where you actually take a fecal sample and you do a DNA Metabar coding of it, and it'll tell you what the animal was actually eating. And that's really interesting to me. It seems a lot better science. It seems like there's so many implications for us to be able to utilize this in many different ways. When we look at this, and this is a sample we've done recently in my county, and I just have 2 months here, 2 different tests, same animals, same Forest Service allotment, and you can see how from June to August, the diets of the animals changed. And you immediately start looking at this and saying, boy, there's a lot going out there. There's so many things that we could find out from this information. But if you look, from June to August, the perennial forbs really changed immensely on what they were eating. So did the annual forbs, and how the grasses were utilized at different times of year is really interesting to me. So, the interesting thing about this is this would change from cow herd to cow herd. It would certainly change from allotment to allotment. But it would change year from year, right? It would change from early years to dry years to wet years, to all sorts of things would change the way this is happening. And when we have, if we had this information, we had several years of this information, boy, it could be an interesting tool to use in several different ways, in my opinion. As I think about ways to use this technology, actually go out and take a fecal sample out in the field and know what the cows are eating, I think the first thing I ask myself is, what can we do with that right now? And I think where we're at on the test, where we're at with the science, what we can do right now is to solve a specific problem or question that we have. Right now, the technology is to a point where it's affordable on a herd level. We can go out and we can test a whole herd, take fecal samples, and we could ask ourselves a question that's very specific for that herd at that time, and we could answer that question. So I think when we start looking at the future and things we could start planning with this technology, there's lots of ranches, especially in my part of the country, where toxic plants are an issue. And they're not an issue every year, but certain years they are an issue. So you could actually go out and know how much and what toxic plant the animal was eating on any given year at any given time. Boy, there's a lot of different mineral ideas. There's lots of different paradigms with minerals, and there's lots of different salesmen that'll tell you if you want to be successful, feed mineral to cows this way, use this mineral. And boy, I think mineral needs change from time of year, different years, depending on what their water source is. I think mineral needs really change within those cattle. And it's interesting to me, you could actually go in and do one of these DNA Metabar codes. You could know exactly how much of each plant the animal was eating, and then you could actually say take the plant and figure out exactly how much mineral was in the plant. And you could actually ask yourself the question, am I really short? Am I really short on this micronutrient that the salesman telling me I am? I mean, there's lots of implications for being able to do that. On a lot of public allotments, targeting grazing is something that a lot of people are trying to do on private grazing too. The one that we've batted around a little bit and talked about would be cheatgrass. At certain times of the year, cheatgrass is really palatable for livestock, but for most of the year, it's not. So, we could really look at that and see what time of year it was that those livestock were willing to eat cheatgrass and were utilizing it well. I'm betting that at a certain time of year on some of our western allotments, cattle eat cheatgrass almost to 100%, right? It's that good a feed, but it's a really short window. So we could take that information and we could do something and concentrate those cows where we needed to work on cheatgrass or something else. And the last thing that I think is a really interesting thought process would be to have the ability to detect if you've got an invasive plant coming in on your ranch or your range or your pastures. I think the cows would pick up that plant before our managers would in most places. If there was an invasive plant that those cattle were coming into contact with, and it would be really interesting that the cows would find that plant before the humans, I think, in most cases. So I think the real way to look at the potential future, the way to utilize this information to really manage, to really look at as a business and a management way is to look at the potential future. And when we do that, there's three different ways that I think about. The first way is really to improve range. When we start talking about working on toxic plants, helping understand our mineral needs, targeting grazing, early detection of invasive plants, and some of those things, we're really talking about improving range. If we have the ability to improve range, our production on the range, our quality on the range is going to be better. Year in, year out, we'll have more feed for livestock there. And if we have more feed for livestock, that's going to show up in the form of either more pounds per animal or being able to put more animals out on that range, which will make us more money, right? And the bottom line, the way we really want to look at this is if we have the ability to improve range, if we have the ability to improve our pastures, we will be able to increase AUMs per acre. If we increase AUMs per acre, that's a great thing for our producers. We have the ability to make more money, have more sustainable ranches. This is really an interesting technology to watch in the future.
So Hudson did a great job of explaining this project, talking about some of the things that are available today, some of the things that are going to be, tools that we could use this technology for, and then some of those tools sort of along the future, which really is where we would like to see the technology go, so that we can really implement it into our management scenarios in a broader way. But Hudson talked about, that we probably aren't there yet. So we wanted to look at this just from a simple perspective of, if you are having some animals that you're losing due to toxic plants, being able to utilize this process to identify toxic plants that are causing you the issue, and being able to save an animal or two in that process. So again, the tool that we're going to use in this example is a partial budget. And like I've talked about in the other videos, there are 4 questions we like to ask ourselves when we're completing a partial budget. What are the additional costs associated with this project? What are some income that might be reduced or eliminated as a result of this project? What's additional income that we might receive as a result of this project? And what are some of my reduced costs as a result of this project? So again, this is a simple economic analysis we're going to do. We looked at doing herd DNA samples. So the idea here is that you would take, you wouldn't take manure samples from just a specific animal. You would take several different manure samples from several different animals and mix those samples. And we propose that you would do that 3 times. So you would have a total of 3 samples at $80 a sample, or $240 invested into trying to determine what toxic plants were causing you issues. So based on those results, hopefully that you can change your management process to be able to save some animals. We looked at this, even if you were able to save just 1 cow, at a replacement cow cost of $1,400, that's a net income of $1,160 in terms of savings over having to replace those replacement cows. So I know this is a real simple economic example, but it does show that even in the infancy of this technology, there are ways that we can use this and ways that we can do it profitably on our operation. And just another tool to use, or another method to use this partial budget to understand whether something might work on your operation. Well, thanks for watching this video in this series for Western Sare. We would like to thank Western Sare for being a sponsor. We hope you enjoyed these videos. Please comment below if you have any suggestions, or if you would like other projects for us to analyze in the future. We appreciate you being with us, and hope you enjoy the rest of the videos.